The negative would have you believe that the three strikes law is an effective deterrent against repeat offenders, that it fixes the justice system, and that just because you have to have 3 convictions does not mean that you've only committed 3 crimes. Well, to address the first issue, it is not an effective deterrent. According to the California Analyst Office, when comparing crime rates both by county and by the national average, there's no significant difference that can be attributed to the implementation of 3 strikes. She mentioned that there was a 26.9% drop in crime when after 3 strikes was implemented. However, crime in California was already dropping when 3 strikes was implemented. And in addition to that, it followed national trends, which means that there is no conclusive evidence that it was directly related to the passing of that legislation. As for fixing the justice system, our justice system is actually incredibly broken. The California prisons are terribly overcrowded. We have roughly 1 bed for every 2 people. Our capacity is 84,269 beds. As of 2007, we were holding 174,282 people. No third strike offenders have been released from prison yet, so this means that every person who has been incarcerated due to the third strike is still in prison, and we will not, and no people, everyone committed to prison for a third strike. One second. No people convicted for a third strike have yet been released from prison, and the earliest anyone eligible for release is 2019, which means that up until that year, everyone committed under a third strike will continue to add up, only contributing to the already crowded prisons. Because a third strike requires a sentence of 25 years to life, this problem only exacerbates itself as time goes on. And the people incarcerated under the three strikes law is a significant portion of total incarcerations. In fact, it is roughly 1/4 of the current inmate population. Now, the other problem that this three strikes law presents is for legislation. Our prison overcrowding is so bad that it actually has been ruled unconstitutional, and we are legally obligated to reduce our prison population by 40,000 over the next 2 years. And because of the way the three strikes law works, the plan that Governor Schwarzenegger has submitted is actually illegal in some parts. According to the Los Angeles Times, according to the Los Angeles Times, his plan involves building new prisons, which is legal, and through a set of sentence reductions, which are not actually allowed under the three strikes law. The other problem that it presents is that it increases the amount of work that the California courts have to deal with. There has been a 10% increase in felony cases tried by a jury since the implementation of three strikes, which makes trying and convicting felons a more difficult task because they want to fight their convictions now that they have a chance to be committed for such long periods of time. And we've been trying to fix this problem by shipping inmates out. The population of inmates that we keep out of state has risen from less than 1,000 to roughly 8,000 inmates from just 2006 to 2009 as the problem has gotten noticeably worse. Limiting convictions and prison sentences to third strike violent offenses would significantly fix these problems because Violent offenses accounted for only 17% of convictions in 2007, and the trend has held steady generally since then. And because less than half of all three strikes convictions have been for violent offenses, the previously mentioned problems of prisoner buildup would be lessened significantly. Finally, the negative mentioned that while the population has risen 50%, the crime rate has not risen with it. Now, while this is technically true, the rate of incarcerations has actually increased 16%, which means that while there has been less crime, which, as I said before, is just following the national trend of reduced crime, the amount of people we've been putting in prison has increased 16% since the implementation of the Three Strikes Law. So it's, to reiterate, it has been shown that there's been no conclusive evidence that the Three Strikes Law is an effective deterrent. It definitely does not fix our justice system, which is suffering from serious problems. And the fact that it has to be 3 convictions and not 3 crimes is actually not particularly relevant. In fact, it can hurt in some cases. There was a case in which a man stole, he already had 2 strikes, and on his 3rd strike he stole $153 worth of videotapes from 2 separate stores. And because there were 2 separate stores, it counted as 2 strikes, which means that each one was a 3rd strike, each one was 25 years. His sentence was for 50 years for shoplifting, which, as we mentioned before, is a grossly misproportionate crime, punishment to his original crime. Once again, I believe this proves that the Three Strikes Law crowds prisons, is unfair to criminals, is definitely costly, ineffective, and is problematic legislation.